Remember when everybody used to call Dan Campbell a meathead?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, everybody? Matt Derry with you on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day indeed, on a Wednesday, June 26th into Thursday, June 27th. Tonight is the NBA draft. Who knew? Seriously, this is the most nondescript thing ever. I never used to miss the NBA draft. Tonight, I guess I'll check part of it out. But regardless, welcome in. Thanks for joining us here on Locked On Lions and finding us wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks to our everydayers who are out there listening and watching. Those of you that subscribe on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel, we thank you as well for doing that. Locked On Lions today brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Follow us on Twitter at Derry Speaks, at Locked On Lions, on Facebook, the Matt Derry Facebook fan page. And again, please subscribe and check us out on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We do have a couple of SpeakPipe submissions today, some voicemails that came in from you guys. If you go to SpeakPipe, SpeakPipe.com/Derry podcast page, you too can leave a voicemail. We have a couple of those installments today we'll get to on a little bit later on. Dan Campbell discussion today, Pro Football Focus giving him some DAP. Also, yesterday, Ryan Matthews joined us from Pride of Detroit and said, biggest concern for him is the Lions defensive line. Or biggest concern for him is that Lions D-line, pressure on the quarterback, everything else. Yet, one national website loves the Lions defensive line. We'll get into that coming up momentarily on the program. Tomorrow, Luke Braun, Locked On Vikings. What's going on in Minnesota? Is J.J. McCarthy really number 3? As far as the quarterback pecking order in Minnesota behind Sam Darnold and Nick Mullins? We will talk to Luke Braun about that tomorrow on Locked On Vikings and some updated Jared Goff MVP odds. All of that today right here on this program. We appreciate you being with us here on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions. All right. I mentioned this in the open, but people used to make fun of Dan Campbell. It was like a cool thing back in 2021, right? When Dan Campbell was made fun of, whether it was the kneecap biting, whether it was he's a meathead, doesn't know how to coach, doesn't know how to manage the clock, makes too many mistakes. He's too dumb, some people said, to be a head coach in the NFL. Former player, tight end, looks like a big tough guy, but he can't coach. And yet, 3 years in, the Lions culture is the best in the NFL. The locker room is stable. It's together. They've gone from 3 wins to 9 wins to 12 wins. They won 2 playoff games last year. The last time the Lions won 2 playoff games was 1957 in the same year. Remarkable job. Yet, when we talk about the top coaches in the NFL, sometimes there are lists and there are experts who do not believe that Dan Campbell should be anywhere near the top of the list. There's a lot of big names. There was one coaching list a few months ago. We talked to Sean Payton was out of Dan Campbell, and I said it. Yes, Sean Payton has won a Super Bowl. Yes, Sean Payton is Dan Campbell's mentor. But I would take Dan Campbell all day over having to deal with Sean Payton. Ask Russell Wilson what it was like to deal with Sean Payton last year, especially during games where he's just bizarre and nuts on the sidelines. And it just does not connect well with players like he used to. Today I saw a list from our friends at Pro Football Focus ranking the NFL's top 10 returning head coaches entering this season. So they're taking into consideration everybody that's coming back from last year. There's nothing about new coaches that have come into the league, anything like that. Top 10 returning NFL head coaches. Andy Reid, number 1. Kyle Shanahan, number 2. Not a surprise. Those teams seem to be in the Super Bowl all of the time. Kansas City and San Francisco. John Harbaugh, Baltimore. How can you argue that? Excellent head coach. Sean McVay of the Rams comes in at number 4. 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 win. Sean McVay's really he's damn good. And he showed it last year. He did a good job. You could argue this one, Mike Tomlin at number 5. Steelers have not won a playoff game in a long, long time. I like Tomlin, the soundbite, but I think his day is kind of passed a little bit, but he's still considered top 5 on this list. Sam Monson, our friend from PFF, put this list together. Matt LaFleur at number 6. Very good coach. Dealt with Aaron Rodgers his first 4 years. Was never an easy task dealing with that wackadoo, right? And then this past year, with a first-year quarterback basically playing in Jordan Love, he had the Packers on the brink of winning 2 playoff games. Matt LaFleur is a pretty darn good coach. Comes in at number 6. At number 7, Dan Campbell, a top 7 head coach on this returning head coaches list. I want to read you what Sam wrote about Dan. D'Amico Ryans 8, Kevin Stefanski 9. Hard to argue. He's won Coach of the Year twice with the Browns. And Sean McDermott at number 10. There's plenty of people in Buffalo that can't stand Sean McDermott, think he's done, etc. But again, we're talking about returning head coaches. But Dan Campbell coming in at number 7, I think, is fantastic. And I think it's accurate. Would I put him ahead of Mike Tomlin? Yeah, I would. But the other ones, yes. LaFleur is really good. McVay, Harbaugh, Shanahan, Reed, Jim Harbaugh, you could argue, because he's coming back to the NFL, is already in people's top 5s because he just wins everywhere he goes. But this is the top 10 returning head coaches. It's keeping Jim Harbaugh and people that are coming back into the league out of it. Sam writes, quote, as a head coach, Campbell has gone from the guy everyone laughed at for the comments about biting kneecaps to the guy who has turned the Detroit Lions franchise into a legitimate Super Bowl contender. He, along with OC Ben Johnson, has helped revitalize Jared Goff's career. The former number 1 overall pick enjoyed the highest graded season of his career with an 85.7 PFF grade last year. Campbell's next step is getting the Lions to the Super Bowl, but you wouldn't bet against them doing that sooner rather than later, end quote. Think about that for a second. Again, this is a guy that does gamble. Some people call him Dan Gamble. This is a guy that sometimes makes some decisions that you scratch your head. You go, that took big stones, punting from your own 20 and running a fake punt, refusing like he did in the NFC Championship game and really kicking field goals to go for it. Kind of came back to bite him a little bit. But the thing about Dan Campbell that you have to love is that the players absolutely rally for him. They do. There are free agents now that have come here, that are coming here to play for him. And there's something to be said about culture, building a winning attitude, rallying the troops, the message not getting stale ever, and winning games on top of it. 2021, he cried after they lost in Minnesota. Cried, and he knew he blew the game. He made poor decisions. The field goal, leaving too much time on the clock for the Vikings, all those things. And yet he cried after the game because he cared so much. And look, I don't even remember what I said on this show in 2021, but I probably ripped it. But it's the care factor. It's the dedication to the guys. It's how genuine he is. And oh, by the way, he's got an excellent staff around him. So when he makes a decision, it might be something that Hank Fraley, the O-line coach, or Aaron Glenn, or Ben Johnson, or Randall L., or Brunell, or whomever helped him make. Assistant coaches don't go. Deuce Staley, Todd Wash left for Carolina, probably for more money and elevated jobs. But you got assistant coaches, guys like Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, turning down opportunities at even the highest level to be head coaches. Ben more than Aaron, but you know what I mean. They want to stay and see this through, and they want to win for their boss. That doesn't go on in pro sports a lot. This guy's done a fantastic job. And to be put up at the top of the rankings and be a top 7 coach, or, at least in this list, is accurate. And again, this schedule is going to be hard this year. There's going to be an injury or two that's going to hurt this team. Jared Goff's basically played every snap the last few years. Aiden Hutchinson hasn't been hurt. There's going to be some injuries are part of the game. But I like the fact that Dan Campbell has faith in a Melifanu to step up in the absence of Gardner Johnson and when Branch was hurt. A DPJ or Antoine Green to step up if something happens to JMO or Amon-Ra. A Brock Wright staying to be the backup to Laporta. I have faith that Dan Campbell is the one that pushes those buttons, get those guys motivated so that they're playing at a high level. Yes, the depth is better. The roster is better. Brad Holmes deserves a ton of credit. But the coach getting that kind of love is a credit to him as well. All right, coming up next. Yesterday, Ryan Matthews from Pride of Detroit said his biggest concern is the Lions' D-line. One list disagrees. And Locked On Lions brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. It is a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions, everybody, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Speakpipe.com/Dairy Podcast page is your opportunity to, send me a voicemail. We're going to play a couple of those voicemails in a little bit. Appreciate those of you that have chimed in on there and sent in your submissions. First things first, though. Yesterday, prideofdetroit.com's Ryan Matthews, a managing editor, or is it senior editor, whatever Ryan is. He's a great guest. We love Pride of Detroit. Was on the show. And we asked Ryan about his biggest concern for this coming season. And he said the D-line getting pressure on the quarterback, enough depth along the edge with players not named Aiden Hutchinson getting the job done so that the opposing team's quarterback is, under duress. What's interesting about that is I don't disagree with Ryan. I hope Marcus Davenport is healthy. I hope we see a healthy and effective James Houston. What are we going to get out of Pascal and Kaminsky this year? Is Matthew Betts, the kid from the CFL, going to do anything? These are all legitimate questions. Today, I saw on Pro Football Focus that Sam Monson wrote about the defensive lines, the best defensive lines in the NFL. And I'm thinking, Lions, top 10, maybe 10, 11, something like that. Because, you got the Jets, and you got the Niners, and you got Philly's D-line. The Browns with Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence in Dallas, DeForest Buckner and that crew in Indy, Pittsburgh, Highsmith, Watt. I know they're considered outside linebackers, but Cameron Hayward has been so good for so many years. Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins now on the Raiders. Tyree Wilson was awesome last year. Houston now has Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. I'm naming off D lines off the top of my head that I think are probably better than the Lions. Yet, Sam Monson, PFF.com. Top D lines as units. Jets, number 1. Niners, number 2. Eagles, number 3. Lions, number 4. Yes. Detroit comes in at number 4. Sam writes, quote, for a while, the Lions had Aiden Hutchinson and not much else along the defensive line. Now they will deploy DJ Reader and an improved Aleem McNeil along with Marcus Davenport on his latest prove-it deal. This is unquestionably the best group the Lions have had around Hutchinson, who himself racked up 101 quarterback pressures last season on his way to a 91.2 PFF pass rushing grade. Cleveland comes in at 5, Dallas at 6 on this list. The worst defensive line in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals at number 32. How about the Lions coming in at number 4? I mean, that is just not what I expected. I did not expect the Lions at number 4. We know about Philadelphia with Reddick and Huff and Jordan Davis and Nolan Smith. Mentioned before about the Niners and the Jets and everything else, but like Detroit at number 4 ahead of the Browns and Dallas with Micah Parsons, that surprised me. But I love it. Sam is bullish on the Reeder and McNeil combo in the middle. Marcus Davenport, prove it deal. We'll see if that comes to fruition. You know, there were games last year where Hutch was a little bit quiet and it just too much time for the quarterback, especially late in the season. When we saw Nick Mullins throw for 400 yards, we saw a blitzing Anzalone, a blitzing Melifano get home, but not really anybody from that D line. You know, Hutch had that big safety that he caused in the Bears game with Justin Fields, but before that, he had kind of a quiet day. The addition of Marcus Davenport, if he's healthy, could be just what the doctor ordered. And as Ryan pointed out yesterday, double teaming DJ Reeder could force Hutch to get even more pressures this year. But a top 4 defensive line. How about that? That's pretty sweet. I like seeing that. All right, mentioned before, you can leave a voicemail or call of the day. We forgot to do yesterday, so we're going to do 2 today. From SpeakPipe at speakpipe.com/Dairy Podcast page, please put your submissions in. Keep them clean. Keep them above board. Nothing personal. Here's our first one for today.
How's it going, Derry? This is Rick Balderas out of Deer Park, Texas, a little suburb outside of Houston. And I know what you're thinking. Texas? That's weird. No, my parents are from Detroit. My dad's a huge Detroit Lions fan, and I've been drinking the Kool-Aid since birth. What I wanted to talk about and highlight is the Detroit Lions fandom that's even reached this far south. I'll be the first to tell you, I wore my Joey Harrington jersey back in the day. Our flagpoles have Detroit Lions flags flying 24/7, 365. It's just who we are. But as with the recent success with the Lions, I've noticed a lot more either bandwagoners or Lions fans around the city. And every time you see them, you can't help but to stop and high five and hit them with the Go Lions. It's just something great to see. I don't know your thoughts about it, but as far as South is here, being in enemy territory, it's great to know that we're out here and we run deep. Go Lions.
That's Rick Balderas from down in Texas. Thank you, Rick. And he's right about this. And I wouldn't even use the word bandwagon fans. Yes, I think more people have jumped on the train, but Lions fans are not bandwagon. Rick's right. Yes, there's more people now in jerseys. There's more people flaunting their Lions fandom with gear and swag and high-fiving each other and talking about the Lions nonstop. It also helps that the other professional sports teams here in this town are struggling. All right. I was in the car today listening to Dan Dickerson and Andy Dirks, and I liked them both. They sounded so bored calling the Tiger game. It sounded like a morgue down there. But the Lions, yes, I wouldn't even say bandwagon, but Rick's right. There's more people all over the country just putting their arms around this football team. So thank you, Rick, for that submission. I thought that was very good. Here is call number 2, courtesy of Joel Weber.
Great talking to you. I hope this works well. I had one thing for you. I seem to watch the Lions website, and when the coaches and the players interact with the media, you can never hear the media. The question is so faint, and just wondering if you could go through your little pipeline and see if you could get your 2 cents worth in so we can get the reporters to have a microphone. Thanks. Appreciate your show. Very good insight. Go Lions.
All right, speak pipe submission from Joel Weber. Thank you, Joel. That's a very interesting question and one that comes up all of the time. And this goes back to the old Bill Keenest days, the legendary Lions communications guru. That for some odd reason, there are teams, not all, but there are some that do mic the media during the season, and so you can hear the questions. The problem with that is, and this is what I think teams are worried about, is that it becomes a show. It becomes media members and such that think they're the show. And so since they know they're being microphoned and maybe even video, on videographed, shot, that they're going to start asking crazy questions. They're going to try to stir the pot. I think teams feel like it's easier to just have a boom mic, not a big mic, and hopefully pick up the question either through the boom mic or through Dan Campbell's mic or a podium mic, and not have the questions mic'd. I, for one, used to tell Bill all the time, can we hear that? We can't hear the questions. But I think that these teams are concerned about folks grabbing the mic and turning it into the media show and the them show as opposed to the player or coach that's up on the podium. That's my guess for that. But thank you, Joel and Rick, both of you, for your submissions today. Updated Jared Goff MVP odds. The newly married Jared Goff. We'll do that coming up next. Hey, we told you about before about our friends at Gametime. The Gametime ticket app is the best. It really is. And it's an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. My Guardians are coming into town to face the Tigers July 8th through the 11th. I'll go on Gametime and check it out and maybe even get tickets right before the game for a great, great price. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, which I love, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Listen, folks, Lions schedule's out. All right, go on Gametime right now. You want to go to the opener against the Rams? You want to go to the Monday nighter against the Seahawks? Thursday nighter against Green Bay? Thanksgiving Day against the Bears? And that juggernaut, Caleb Williams? Get your tickets on Gametime, folks. They're awesome. And the view from your seat is the best. You get a panoramic view, so you turn right, you turn left. You just, use your thumbs or your fingers on it on your phone and just swipe away, and you can see exactly where you're sitting. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So I was listening to something, I don't know if it was NFL radio on Sirius or what I was listening to recently. It might have been a podcast. They were talking about MVP favorites for the NFL for the upcoming season. And look, every year it seems like Patrick Mahomes is the favorite out of Vegas. And he is right now. If you're looking at our friends at FanDuel, Patrick Mahomes is plus 500 to win the MVP. So I was thinking, well, what about Jared Goff? What if Jared Goff had an even better year than he had last year? What if he started lighting it up? Could he be in the running? What does Vegas think? What does FanDuel think? So I looked, Patrick Mahomes plus 500, Josh Allen plus 800, CJ Stroud plus 1,000, Joe Burrow plus 1,000, Lamar Jackson plus 1,400, Jordan Love plus 1,400, Jalen Hurts plus 1,400. Where is he? Brock Purdy plus 1,600. Should I keep going? Justin Herbert plus 2,000. Dak Prescott plus 2,000. Trevor Lawrence plus 2,500. Matthew Stafford plus 2,500. Aaron Rodgers plus 2,500. Tua plus 3,000. It's all quarterbacks. But where's Goff? Oh, finally, Jared Goff plus 3,500. Right in front of Kirk Cousins at plus 4,000. Oh, look, I'm not telling you right now to bet and put money down on this. But If I were a betting man, why wouldn't you put down some scratch on Jared Goff? Plus 3,500? That'd be a pretty good wager, would it not? For him to win the MVP, like, I don't know. I see a chance here for Goff to have a really good year. Now, the numbers when it opened were plus 5,000. Now it's gone up to it's gone down, it's gone up or down or whatever to plus 3,500. Because the Lions are going to have a really good offense again. The Lions are going to have a really good team this year again. I wouldn't be betting on Trevor Lawrence ahead of Jared Goff or Dak Prescott ahead of Jared Goff. Not even Brock Purdy ahead of Jared Goff, because Brock Purdy's on the same team as Christian McCaffrey. But plus 3,500 to me is a little bit low. Not predicting anything. I'm just telling you, I think that Vegas is sleeping a little bit on Goff. This offense, Ben Johnson back, the comfort level that he has. Not putting him in the top 3. I'm not telling you to put him ahead of Patrick Mahomes or Burrow for this award. But, man, I like those odds for sure at plus 3,500 for Jared Goff. Why not do it? All right, tomorrow, Luke Braun, Locked On Vikings. What's going on in Minnesota? He will tell you the plan for J.J. McCarthy is being done right. Some of the national media will say, oh my gosh, he's number 3 right now. What a bust already. Hasn't even played a single snap yet. All of that tomorrow right here on Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen. Checking us out wherever you get your podcasts.